Hey, Ryan Webb here, and hope you're doing great. So here I have Alex White, who is a guitarist, a composer, and a multi-instrumentalist, and also a super cool dude. What can I say? So basically, this chat is me nosing around, seeing what the man is up to in his studio, whether he's purchased a new bit of equipment or, a new guitar. Is he working on any new interesting projects? So, rambling on as I always do. So, before we get into it, if you could subscribe to the channel, it would be superly appreciated. So, did I say superly appreciated? That is so dumb, man. So, anyhow, let's dive right into this. Hey, Alex, thanks for taking the time and having this chat with me, man. I really do appreciate it. So, who is Alex White?
Gosh, man, it's so cool to be here. Thank you for having me on. This is awesome fun. Talking about gear is something I can do forever and ever. In fact, I think if you could sum me up and who I am, it's just somebody who likes gear, likes to play with things and make noises and just then try and pretend like it's a job in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically what I do is I am a music composer and a studio engineer. So I do a bit of both. I do recording of kind of local artists, that kind of thing, when, we can. And I also compose music for all sorts of projects. So I've worked for companies like Paramount, Milka. I've worked for, ITV and I think Bristol Aquarium was the aquarium I worked for. So I've had a few cool projects like that, but I've also done loads of music composition for much smaller things, indie things, which to me is all just as cool as each other. So that's kind of what I do and what I am. I'm a multi-instrumentalist. So, multi-instrumentalist, that means I can play a bit of everything and not really any good at anything. But it's, I kind of do drums, guitar, a little bit of violin. That's my new one, which is cool. I'm just starting to learn that, which is hard. It's really hard.
So are you taking like online lessons or something like that?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I've got just a teacher that I just do Zoom lessons with. It's actually amazing. I wasn't sure if Zoom lessons would work, but I think with the benefit of already having played instruments already and having had formal lessons, I think that actually Zoom lessons really work brilliantly, because I already play guitar, which means fretting wise, obviously it's a very different hand position and all the rest of it, but it's kind of there. So yeah, it kind of works basically. But yeah, that's who I also play the saxophone too. This is my main instrument. This is the one that I learned at 10 years old, and just absolutely phenomenal. This is probably the reason, if I'm any good at anything in music, my teacher, saxophone teacher, is the reason. He was amazing, and so cool, just taught me. He didn't just teach me about how to play the instrument. He taught me taste as well. He really sat down, and there was so much of the lessons which were why something sounds good, why you play this and not that. And of course, hey, don't get me wrong, I understand it's all opinion at the end of the day. But, there are some fundamentals, I guess, which just mean that you just sound that extra little bit tasty when you play. So, yeah, that's it. That's me in a nutshell.
Definitely a multi-instrumentalist there for sure, man. Freaking hell. I wish I could play just the guitar perfectly. I'm trying to get just that one instrument right. Being a multi-instrumentalist, so which is your favorite instrument?
Well, I'm going to try not to give the crap answer, which is they're all good in their own way, because that's not a fun answer. So I'm going to try and give a decent constructive answer, which I think is going to be the piano, because the piano, you can, it's great, because I love composing. Composing is everything that I think about when I wake up in the morning and all the way through the day until I go to bed at night. It's writing music for me. It's just that's the main drive. I love engineering, I love all the rest of it, but the piano has got to be my favorite because you can do everything on it. You can write for other instruments on it. You can come up with an entire arrangement just on the piano. The other instruments are very difficult to do that. You try and play two notes on a saxophone, at the same time. Obviously it's impossible. Same, with even the guitar, it's you still can't get the range that you can on a piano. It's really hard to come up with a bass line and a treble line independently on the guitar.
Yeah.
You have to be kind of incredible to do that on the guitar. But on piano, you just need 2 fingers and you can just do this and you're there. So it makes it super quick just to throw an idea down. Yeah, you know, that's what I do occasionally find that obviously when I'm doing that, sometimes you have to go and pick up the actual instrument.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you think, oh, that'll definitely work on guitar. And then you ask a guitarist to play it and their hand is like this. And they're going, this is terrible. Why don't you arrange for guitar properly? But yeah, so my not cheating answer is it's got to be the piano.
Cool.
But the real answer is they're all good in their own way because they're all amazing.
That's so cool, man. So tell me, how do you manage your time, man? Being a multi-instrumentalist, if you want to warm up your fingers, or is it any different to warming up on the piano to your guitar, or
really
how does it work, man?
Do you know, I do a little bit of them every day. Because I just and that quite naturally I just move around the studio grabbing things, and the way I tend to compose at the moment, at least, I mean, good Lord, ask me in 2 months and I'll probably have a different method. You know what it's like, right? But I because I do a little bit of them every day, I'm not at the stage where I pick something up and feel a bit rusty. Yeah. Because I'm doing it every single day, and every single one of my instruments gets at least 15 minutes of me doing something every day. And because it's for recording, I have to get it right. Whatever I'm doing, even if it's simple, which most of the time I make it simple, but I have to get it right, which is one of the real beneficial things. I mean, I'm sure, Ryan, you must have experienced the thing where when you gig a lot, although we're not allowed to talk about gigs at the moment, but anyway, when one does gig a lot, you've probably found that you get, I heard somebody call it something cool once. I think they called it gig hardened.
All right.
Which is where you've done loads of gigs and you just are so locked in with your instrument.
Yeah.
And I think that's because you have to perform and you have to get it right. Yeah. When you sat at home, you can forgive yourself. You make that mistake and you can just go, I'll get it right next time. But then when you have 10 days worth in a row of, I'll get it right next time, you're not actually improving. And I think that's so interesting question about kind of, do I need to work? Kind of, I don't find that I feel stiff on any of the instruments because I do it every day and it has to be right in that same way that when you play a gig, it has to be right. Yeah. So you get that hard and stuff. As I said, I want to caveat all of this with, I am not like, if you have a pianist, they're definitely going to be a better piano player than I am. If you have a guitarist, they're definitely going to be a better guitarist than I am. However, I'll be a better guitarist than the piano player will be. So
you got it all under control, man. Either way, you will make it. Things get, things work out anyhow. But getting into guitars, man. So what kind of guitars do you use?
So I use mainly 2 at the moment. I've got 3. I've got a Gibson Les Paul, and I've got my Paul Reed Smith, a really old 80s Paul Reed Smith, or early 90s, I think, Paul Reed Smith, and just my Mexican Fender Stratocaster. And so the 2 I use almost exclusively are just the Les Paul and the Strat.
Yeah. Do you do any mods on your guitar? So is it all stock?
It's all stock. If any guitarists are watching this now going, oh, cool, maybe we'll see some gear.
Don't think so.
I mean, I can show you the guitar. It looks nice.
Oh, that'll be cool, man.
It looks nice. It looks pretty. Actually, it depends, though, because some people really don't like Les Pauls.
Yeah. Well, I've never got used to them. I have no idea why. I remember getting like a gold top, whatever.
Oh gosh, they look beautiful.
It just felt all weird, I think it's because you get used to. What sort of
guitar do you normally play? I can't quite remember.
It's just Ibanez's and
Oh, is that an Ibanez Gem in the background?
Yeah, Gem and Schecter.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And the JS series, pretty much. That's I grew up on Ibanez's for like 20, 25 years, man. It's just so difficult. Well, every now and then I grab the Strat for the single coil, layering metal chugs.
Yes, yeah.
Even though you do a lot of chugs with humbuckers, sometimes when you layer maybe 3 or 4 layers of just a single coil, it just
has
fills
that
up.
little little ring on the top end, doesn't it? Which really helps cut through. I found that too, actually. I'm a little bit lazy sometimes. Sometimes I only do one in the left and one in the right. But I've noticed putting Strat in the left just brings out that little bit of clarity that you know, with the tone right down, of course.
Yeah.
I
just track it and just leave it there, during the mixing process. If I need to use it, then it's just there, rather than, trying to relearn the parts and getting into that same mood of tracking. That doesn't really work, man. So enough about that. So basically Gibsons and Fender and old PRs. So any thoughts on getting a custom guitar made? Have you come across when you pick up like off the shelf guitar and you think, oh, I wish this was done, I wish I could do this, or you're happy with the way the guitar is and you just play them?
No, I definitely do. So on the whole, I do just tend to grab an instrument and play it. I'm a bit of a believer in the fact that it's the person that makes the noise, not anything else after that. So, they change and help the sound, but if you're playing really well, you're gonna play really well. It doesn't matter what it's on. And sure, the tone might be different, but it's just as good. So I tend to just go down the route. If I'll grab it, I'll plug it in, I'll do it. And if I don't like the sound, I look at me first. However, one thing I would really love, and I've read that it's basically impossible to do, which is probably why I haven't really noticed anybody being famous for manufacturing it, but I'd love just to have like an ultra guitar that really did do single coils and humbuckers, and you could switch between the two, and you could have those two different sounds in one guitar with all the different controls on.
All right.
But I've not really, because I know Poor Smith was supposed to be that kind of thing. It's not the same though.
Yeah.
So custom wise, I'd love to have somebody make me a custom guitar that did that kind of thing. But I've read that the problem is there's a trade-off for the I think it's the resistance of the pots.
Yeah.
And the volume pots and things like that that you need to install for. So you'd essentially have to have a guitar, which really was 2 guitars worth of electronics inside one guitar.
So two outputs, 2 sets of controls. I'm not sure. Is it basically you love passive pickups pretty much?
I have absolutely no opinion.
Okay.
I've used an active guitar. I would, I mean, like, again, I plugged it in. I thought it sounded cool. It sounded different, but it sounded cool. Obviously, it was a bit hotter, which was great for driving the input hard. I loved that. That was a cool feature. But no, I have no particular like emotional attachment or opinion about either of them. I'd use anything. So
because EMGs have got one of these, I think it's like an 89 something, like whatever. So it basically has an humbucker and a single coil within that one pickup, and it's just the way you switch them over to. I think I've got a set somewhere. So it's like,
God.
rather than your 4-pin, I think this one's got like a 6 or 8-pin, and basically,
and they literally switch inside the pickup.
Yeah, inside the pickup. Yeah,
that's cool. And is it because it's active that it can then ignore all of the resistance issues with every component after that? Yeah, just like active microphones.
So it's basically like an 81 and a SA or whatever the combination is. Flick of a switch or a pull pod or whatever you want to do with it, and it just works.
That's the custom guitar I want.
I
want someone to make me that and I don't care what bottom shape it is.
So basically you can just stick that pickup anywhere, as long as you got a humbucker slot, stick it in there.
Does anyone make a guitar with that pre-configured in then?
I think so. Yeah, I'm fairly certain, because you can buy those pickups, man, and basically you're just modding, taking off your humbucker from the bridge, for instance, and just putting that pickup on there and just rewiring.
Do you then need to kind of have a new hole drilled for a switch or something?
No, I think you can get a push-pull pot,
Push pull
whatever.
pot, so you just
Yeah,
replace your pot rather
yeah,
than kind
yeah,
of
or just put an extra pot or
take
whatever.
a drill to it.
Or
Yeah.
get rid of the tone pot, man. Who reuses the freaking tone pot?
What's it there for?
Getting rid of it, freaking tone pot. So
Absolutely
yeah,
awesome. Okay, that's cool.
yeah,
That's pretty much it. That is my
yeah,
that would be it then. That's the only thing that I ever sit there and go. And again, it comes down to laziness. I don't want to have to do this.
yeah, yeah,
You know, I don't want that.
yeah.
Just want to switch the sound and go there. You know.
Yeah, so sometimes when I'm tracking on my Fender, I got a pick guard that is pretty much configured with the 289. So if in case I want the
Ooh.
single call or the humbuckers, whatever, just flick of a switch rather than sit there and flick around. But right now, it's just the single calls on there.
That's
So,
cool.
yeah, so I've got quite a few EMGs lying around. I wonder why. We're right. Yeah,
So
we're right now. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to ask you if you do you get quite into pickups?
I
Like,
do.
do you go through and A B them next? Well, as much as you can A B a pickup, of
Yeah.
course. I appreciate it's like, hold on, give me 3 hours. What do you really want? But yeah, so what's your opinion of the differences?
Well, I think it depends on what you're going for, man. I always
Mm,
find DiMarzio's have got a very warm and balanced and consistent kind of tone. And it's not too
cool.
sharp and bright and all those kind of annoying high frequencies. I think DiMarzio kind of has this perfect curve. Seymour
Right.
Duncan's are more harsh, I would say, but
Mm-hmm.
yet
Mm-hmm.
again, it's about your playing. I think it all depends on how hard you're playing and how, it's just the way to right now. I'm just super obsessed with these really, really hot invaders. They are freaking hot as
Oh,
hell. So
right. Okay,
pickup
cool.
is like so low for my strings. It's like ridiculously low. But you're
Oh, of
getting that,
course,
yeah, you're getting
right.
the definition and you're getting that attack. And basically, yeah, I'm dialing out the output that's going out of the guitar, and you're still getting a lot of presence, man, because it's such a hot pickup. And yeah,
Oh,
basically, it's
that's
all,
really
yeah,
smart.
yeah, that's basically on the Schecter back there. And yeah,
Ooh,
I've managed to get maybe I think about 2 sets. It's on one of my Ibanez's and another Jackson, whatever. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
so at some point, I'll swap them all again. You never know,
Yeah, of course.
and
Well, I
go back to
suppose
EMGs and whatever.
do you know, I keep trying to come up with rules for myself on anything to do with music, like
Yeah,
what instrument it is, what plugin of the week I'm on, and I
yeah,
always do this thing where I go, I found it, I found the
yeah,
thing I'm going to stick with. Give me a week, give me
yeah,
a week, and
yeah,
I will get to the end and I'll go, oh, I'm not sure about it. And it's the same thing, I guess, for
yeah,
you. It's like
yeah,
your taste seems to fluctuate, doesn't it?
yeah,
It's odd. I mean, I know exactly what you mean
yeah.
by that.
Yeah, it also depends on the wood, man. I think it depends, how
Yeah,
that guitar was
sure.
originally made, and you go by the
Mm,
pickup that was actually in there by these, dudes who actually put a lot of time into making a cool guitar,
yes.
and you base that pickup and you get something similar. If you think it's too harsh, but keep to that same aggressive, output,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
And if you just want to tame it down, so basically you can go to say bare knuckles pickups and you get a
Yeah.
custom one
Sure.
made.
Yeah.
You can say I've got an invader, but I want to get rid of that high end harshness. They'll probably do something
They'll
for
do it
you.
for you. Wow,
Exactly, man.
yeah. I
So
would love to play with pickups. I've eyed them at some point, but
yeah,
I've always
yeah,
tried to stop myself because I'm worried it's then yet another
yeah,
hole for me to go
yeah.
down. And
So
just
basically, it's you're dedicating a day of your life, yeah, right? You know the sound
oh
of your amp,
yeah,
and get a spare, a set of soldering iron, sit next to
yeah,
quick string change, have locking tuners or whatever, guitar,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
very quick change, and basically that's what I did on one of my guitars, literally swapping, seeing how
That's
the
so
wood
cool.
responds to the pickup and stuff like that. But the thing with EMGs and Fishmans and all that is they are very consistent because they're active,
Yes.
and it's only the only thing is about the compression. Then that's how the active pickups kind of attack you, the compression within the active circuit. So
So it does a bit of
yeah,
automatic compression.
for EMGs for sure, but
Sounds good to
not
me.
Fishmans are more open as far as
sure,
I've experienced, because that's another set that I purchased and I put on the same EMG set that I had before, and the AB was crazy, man, especially for chugging.
Lush.
Yeah.
That's you see, that is really. Oh, now look what you've done, Ryan. Now I can't buy all these pickups.
Go
oh no!
Pickup purchasing. I'll send you some, man. You can just experiment.
It sounds so good. Don't stop.
Yeah, cool.
This is my own fault. I should know what happened. What would happen if I came on a gear chat show? You gotta find out stuff that you want to buy.
Man, so that was guitars. I think that was quite an in-depth of guitars and pickups, man. I think I've never had such an in-depth one before. But anyhow, we ramble on. So, what amps do you use, man? Do you use Valve, vintage amps, or any thoughts on modelers? If you're using any in the studio or for live, what is your setup, man?
I currently use two really small, they're what is it, 15 and 20 watts, but they're switchable down to 1 watt, or in the case of the other one, 0.5 watts, which is just an orange Rocker 15 that I've got lurking somewhere at the back there. And I've got my little, I'm just going to go and get it. Got this little one here, which so basically it's little mini heads. I've also got a little mini Hughes and Kettner Tube Meister 18 around here somewhere as well.
Yeah.
The reason mainly is because I have struggled with amp sims quite a lot. I've tried and I keep not getting results that I like. So I need to keep the volume down though, because I work in one room and I don't want to be blasted by 100-watt amplifiers. The volume actually around here isn't so much of a problem because I've got a drum kit there, so I do drums all the time in here. So it's not a problem volume-wise, but you just can't sit in front of a 100-watt amplifier, or even a 50-watt, or even a 20-watt amplifier turned up. It's too much. It blows your head off. So this is entirely functional. Basically, I often look at... I mean, we were talking just before we started the show about the aux, the Universal Audio aux box. And I've eyed that several times because I kind of thought, that'd be cool, because then I could get a bunch of 100-watt heads and all the Mesa Boogie stuff. And, but then I obviously always come back to the fact that these keep working, keep producing good tones.
Yeah.
However, I would love nothing more than to just use amp sims, because I certainly struggle to be able to tell the difference between analog, say, compressors and EQs for recording compared to the software. I occasionally trick myself into thinking they sound better until I suddenly realized that actually it was the digital version I recorded with or something, when and things like that. So that's my amp setup. It's really basic, really simple, mostly functionals because I need it quiet. I'd love to get amp sims working, but I just keep finding there's something about, and probably no one else in the world would notice, but when I do, say, an E minor, the open E minor, and I palm mute and I on amp sims, I keep hearing a slightly digital fizz. The thing is the tones I go for aren't metal tones, because I mostly do lighter rock, indie rock, kind of electronic stuff where I've got guitars that are not, think more White Stripes. Think more that kind of tone, more perhaps broken or blasted out tones, those kind of things, not those super metal tones. So I can't speak for those sorts of tones, but my gosh, for more wooden kind of sounds, I keep finding there's something up with, and I've tried a lot of them, and I keep, so I every time there's a new release of some sort of digital amp sim, I'm just hoping that it gets me around that issue. So that's kind of where I'm at so far. But that's my amp setup. It's really fun, really, and they're cute. Look.
So when you're saying amp sims, is that all software based that you're talking about, that you try out rather than the racks?
I haven't tried anything like the Kemper.
All right.
anything like that. And I've heard they're really fantastic.
Yeah.
But they're just so expensive to get into.
Yeah.
Because I get results with these that I like,
Yeah.
and that seem to deliver every time. That's like 500 quid for that head.
Yeah.
Versus what's the cheapest you can buy a Kemper box for? About $1,000 to
Yeah.
1,200 maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's a really stripped back, just preamp part of it as well, without any power amp in it. So it's like, oh man, I can't take the risk. But if someone's to give me a Kemper for free, I will try one.
Yeah, of course, man. I'll tag them in into this video and say, "Oi, dudes, Alex needs a Kemper.
Alex needs a Kemper.
Need the powered Kemper." So they've come up with this power head. So basically, it's a rack or whatever.
Yeah.
It's got an amp built in as well. So it's got straight to the speaker,
cool.
whatever. So yeah, the dudes can send you over after this interview, whatever. They probably next week or the week after, you'll receive a Kemper for sure.
That's how it works. That's how that's what we're all here for.
Yeah. Cool.
No,
so,
I'd love to try one, but the digital stuff I do, the plugins world, I haven't quite found something that makes me go, that's the one.
Yeah. Cool. So what kind of this pedalboard setup that you have, have you got like a massive pedalboard setup, since you're using tiniest? You're another dude.
Tiny pedalboard.
Is it like this tiny, man?
it's one of these little, it's the newer pedal boards. They're literally about this big.
All right.
They're tiny, and the pedals are like this. I haven't got it in here because
it's that tiny.
I've lost it. I don't know where it's gone. Pedalboard wise, again, most of the tones I work with are guitar to amp.
Yeah.
And then it's gain and volume. That's what I end up doing, spending most of my time with. If I need a chorus or a flanger or a delay, I tend to just do it in the box, because I've got Universal Audio interface here, which allows me to put those effects on in real time. Yeah. And I'm not a good enough guitarist to notice any latency. So
I don't feel any latency anyhow, man. Seriously, also really good. UAD has got really done a good job on this one for you. I've been using the interface for like ever.
Oh mate, they're amazing, aren't they? I just love the fact that you don't even think about it anymore, do you? Once you've been using it for a while, you just put in a plugin in the input chain. You don't even stop to think that it's a plugin. You just do it.
Get on with your work.
Works. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's actually, I have because I now use Universal Audio's Luna as well, because I'm slightly in love with Universal Audio, and the whole system now is mad. It's like there's no more latency. I just don't think about it. There isn't. All you do is you click record arm in Luna, and it totally handles the entire chain for you and puts it all into the lower. I mean, they obviously have to say lowest latency possible. Yeah. But seriously, you can't hear any delay.
Of course, man.
The delay is shorter. I worked it out at one point. The delay that I monitor through is a shorter delay than I would hear if I was stood 5 foot away from my amplifier. So when you start to do it like that, if someone's saying they can hear the latency in a Universal Audio system, I'd have to come back at them and say, so that means you can't play 5 or 6 foot away from your amp before you go, I can't do this anymore. So I love it. But it sounds like you have a similar workflow in that
pretty
case.
much, man. So I use Axe-Fx, so that is my whole chain, even though I just recently, when I say recently, probably like 3 or 4 months ago, purchased the Line 6 Helix.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was mainly for live kind of situation where I have the guitars and the mic, my vocals all going through just as one box, and with a flick of a switch, I can go from verse to chorus, where the vocals would change at the same time, the delays, and so rather than me controlling 2 separate units, so it's all dialed in a way. Click of a button, I got the verse. Another one got the chorus. it saves me the hassle, especially if I'm screaming. I got another riff coming up. You know what I mean? It's like, no, tap down on the hit that freaking chorus switch, man. So yeah, so that was a lot of thought went into it. I spent like a week or so getting kind of A-B'd with my Axe effects, because all my tones were on the Axe effects. I put that same amp sims on the Helix, and I was just basically EQ matching and getting it to where so it's
That's
same
wicked.
what we say, it's the same impulse response from the IR cabs that say I use on the Axe effects. I put it back onto the Helix, and somehow it gets there. I took it out on the road maybe 2 gigs when before all this crazy shit happened, and the sound guy was happy with it. So once the dudes are happy, we are fine. we just crack on.
Totally,
It's just less hassle, man. 2 inputs out of my guitar and job done.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
Did I say inputs out of my guitar? Should have been output out of my guitar. What freaking fudge do I know?
No,
so,
I love that. I'm all for that. I always wish all I had to do with any sort of gig is just take my guitar. The less I can have in between that, and oh man.
Yeah. So basically we use in-ears. So the way that we rehearse with my session, musicians, is basically the same way we would perform. So 3 dudes with in-ears, everything is dialed in, so we hear exactly the same. No surprises. The sound guy doesn't turn up the bass or whatever shit. I even mic the drums with just one mic near the kick, kind of hidden where the kick and the snare is, so we still hear the drums.
That
on the in-ears
is exactly where I have one of my mics on my drum kit. That little peeking over the drum kit.
When you crush it, man. When you crush that mic, sounds amazing.
But you know what? I often, when recording drums, find that depending on the song, can sometimes act as my overhead.
Yeah.
So I actually sometimes just don't even crush it. I just have it as an overhead mic.
Yeah.
Overhead mic. It's kind of an underhead mic, really, isn't it? But when you add a little bit of compression to it, because the crushing thing works beautifully. I think that's probably the most popular usage for it. But even if you just kind of go, okay, I'm going to treat this like just an overall picture of the drums.
Yeah.
Oh my God, even the toms come out beautifully.
Yeah. It's like the drummer's butt mic.
Yeah,
it's a drummer's butt mic.
Yes, definitely.
That's so cool, man. That itself is a little trick out there, for somebody who's
if anyone hasn't tried this, get a mic, get your kick drum, poke it over so it's just looking over the kick towards the beater, play with the positioning a bit. It's cool to have a little try all around here. But I tend to just stick it a little bit out like that and then have it between my rack and my floor tom.
Yeah.
And good God, that position, when you mix it in with just kick and snare, that sounds so punchy because it's kind of acting like a multiple clever little mic. It's because of the position, it's acting like a bottom snare mic. So you can get away with just a top snare mic, no problem, because you still got all that crack from the bottom snare. It's acting like an outside kick mic. I mean, these mics will be out of phase, the kick in and the kick out. So you need to flip the phase. But my gosh, that suddenly gives you that boom. And also, interestingly, a bit of attack because of the proximity to the beater. But you still get all that oof that comes from the kick. It's just brilliant. It's just such a clever position.
Yeah. So what mic do you use just for that purpose, man?
I have been using the AKG 414.
Okay,
so I'm going to get it.
Yeah. Cool.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's the guy. Which this is the one I have been using. But any good condenser mic will do. So mostly it's best if it's cardioid. Because if you want to do the crushing, you don't want the back picking up too much because otherwise all the cymbals are going to go mad and it kind of ruins the effect. So you kind of want the back kind of rejecting all your cymbal nonsense and then just that going.
unless you're doing like a punk project where everything works. The more noise and more annoying, crushy or nastiness in there. punk
I
works.
actually wish I'd been a punk musician instead, because recording is just a breeze. You just go, make it, just chuck mics in, just go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Just freaking crash it. Old school punk,
great.
though, man. I've got to say, old school punk is like that, but not the new school punk. You know, nowadays they won't clean up the punk music. It just doesn't feel right to me. I don't know. I don't want to name out bands, but it just doesn't feel as punky anymore.
No, do you know, it's sad in a way, isn't it? Because I love recordings. I hate to use the word raw, because I think that's unfair. I don't think that's what's happening, but I love the sound of I like the sound of drums with just one mic in the room, just capturing that noise. But you're right, it's so absolutely unacceptable to do that now.
Yeah,
you can't, because everyone will just go, what is this? What is why does this sound like a drum kit? I don't want my drum kit to sound like a drum kit. You know, I want it to sound like no drum kit sounds like that. That's fake.
Definitely not. Yeah.
So, oh mate, I know what you mean. I know it's a shame that it's so. There are a few bands, I suppose, out there trying to do it, but no, you're never going to get. You're never going to get one of those big name punk bands doing that.
No, definitely not, man. I'm going to try and experiment one of these days with all raw stuff. No samples, no effects. Everything is just one guitar, just a bass, a drummer, and a singer. So basically, all I'm working is on 4 tracks, right?
So exciting!
When I say 4 tracks, obviously the drums are going to be, at least 8 tracks.
But I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
It's guitar, bass, vocals, and the drums. But the drums as minimal mic as you could possibly do.
If there's a solo, there's not going to be a rhythm track. It's just going to be the bass and the solo. You know what I mean? It's just like those old school instrumentals that it used to come out when Satriani, whatever, performed live, and he got Stu Ham or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
it's just the bass. If you record the parts properly, I think you can get away with it.
I think you can far more than get away with it. It's so funny, isn't it? Because I don't think that the average listener would care either. Because they're just wanting to hear the song.
Yeah.
If you record it well, if you put the mic in a really good position, that captures that instrument well, it's going to sound lush. No, it won't sound like an over-edited, super hyped recording. It won't do. No, it won't hit as hard as something that has been super tightly done. Of course it won't. But the song may benefit if it's the right kind of song. So as I said, it depends on genre, doesn't it? It's
just imagine without any effects, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I know. I mean, I don't think you could. Bless you, I don't think you could ever do metal like that. I think
I'm going to try.
It just doesn't.
Imagine all that kind of. Well, you can get away with metal if you're doing like death stuff, Eat.
Yes. Where everything's an SM57. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. This is gonna be a very long chat. I can already tell. We are hitting already 40-odd minutes, man.
Gosh, well, we can. I will stop. I will.
Well, it's same with me, man. Once I ramble on, we just keep rambling on.
Great
so, what strings do you use, man, on your guitars?
I flip flop with this a little bit. So, at the moment, I've got 11s. And I just Ernie Ball 11s.
Yeah.
But oh God, yeah. One day I think the heaviest strings in the world are the best thing ever, and then I go back to thinking 10s are great. It's really, again, I think what you need is guitars with one with a set of 11s, one with a set of 12s, one with a set of 10s. Just like because so you know what the problem is, it changes the tone.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you're doing. I've settled on 11s because I like the way they feel.
Yeah.
But they don't sound as jangly as 10s.
Yeah.
And if I'm playing a dirty, mean just single string metal riff or something a bit heavier, or a heavy rock kind of riff, I'd love the sound of 12s for the big fat chunk that you get out of it. That so like power chord on a single note. It's awesome. So strings wise, yeah, I really think strings are quite a lot about what you're trying to do. What tone are you looking for on that song?
Yeah.
And most people just have to try and settle. But I don't think they're an area where you can go, this is the best. This is the best.
Yeah.
Because I have heard some guitarists just say, if you're not using heavy strings, then you're not a real guitarist. I'm not a real guitarist.
Fuck them all.
I was going to say I'm not a real guitarist, so I have to bow to their experience. But yeah, what about you, man?
I settled for. I always been a 10 gauge user ever. Since ever 10, and recently, because my direction of music has changed, and I'm working on these 2 EPs that is all heavy, and the reason I went for 11th gauge is for a drop C tuning, and there is a reason for that. I always, I like to keep it real. So if I have to perform live and if I have to sing and riff at the same time, if it's too pitchy, I can get away with it in the studio, not a problem. But if we are in a live situation, if I'm chugging and singing at the same time, so I thought rather than sort of faff around with different tunings, get a set with drop C and
lush.
And hopefully I can get away with if I get a 7 string. So that is going to be the next.
It's actually for you, it's entirely functional.
Yeah.
It's just actually about what can I tune?
Yeah.
How can I get the tuning there?
Yeah.
Actually 11th does it. Yeah. That makes total sense.
Just basically I'm kind of having it in, a state where I don't have to faff around too much, if you know what I mean.
Totally,
just work on the performance and make music, man. So it's all about an idea. If we want to do something, I just want to just do it and see what happens. At the end of the day, who's the hell is gonna stop us? Who's gonna stop us, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So what are your influences like, man? So what are your influences like? In the past, you got any influences like even now?
So influence, yeah. I mean, my influences are really tiny. Oddly, is I've got a real odd thing, and that's that the amount of music listening I do. I listen to a lot of different styles of music, but I don't really have favorite bands. I don't really get into bands that much. I think I have 2 bands that I've ever actually been like into, where I actually want to buy the merchandise and go to the gigs and things like that in a major kind of screaming fan way, and that's 9 Inch Nails and Nirvana, which I never got to see because that will happen. So my 2 major influences are Nirvana and 9 Inch Nails, because Nirvana simply because they were the first band I discovered that absolutely connected with me on a songwriting level. I just think the music that Nirvana made was for me just connected to me. Nobody can really explain how those things work or why, but it just did. It just spoke to me totally. I totally loved all those tunes. And then 9 Inch Nails, really from a wonderful canvas of sound sort of perspective. The stuff that Trent Reznor does is just stunning, obviously tune wise and musically, but also just wow. A 9 Inch Nails record just goes in so many different directions. And that was the first band I think I really heard where I thought there was tons of experimentation, but there were still songs rather than just totally going off, I mean, that's obviously because tons of bands that fit that bill. But yeah, that's kind of inspiration-wise, that's kind of it for me. That's what I would say where my inspiration comes from. And then the rest of it, I do tons of music listening, but gosh, now it's almost just to keep up with my job. So I'm aware of what's out there and what's current and what's being done. So I'll just jump onto Apple Music or something and I'll just go through the top hits of that week. And just listen and just see what's going on, see what kind of effects are being used, see what's in. And so I listen to a lot of music, but actually for pleasure. Like it's
pretty much like a skip listen, isn't it? Listen and skip away. Skipping those tracks. Skipping those auto-tune tracks. That's what I would say.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
So, So is that your tracking and mixing environment there, man? Do you take on, so do you take on like external projects, other clients coming in, whether you're doing session work for them, like being a guitarist or a pianist or whatever? What is the whole your setup day to day, of Alex White in the
Yeah,
life day to day, day to day of Alex White's life, I would say.
absolutely. Yeah. So I get up and I have a little cry. First of all, that's the most important part. And then once I've got over that, no, I basically I do pretty much as the music composition for other clients,
Yeah.
and then I do also ordinarily record local artists, local bands, things like that. So I have
Yeah.
a decent set of customers which I see fairly regularly, as well as new people, and I do everything really. I do electronic music for some folks. I do acoustic music for some other folks. I do full band stuff for some other guys, and that's basically those two things. How I make my money and what I do every day. So it's really fun. It's very varied. I probably mostly do microphones in a room recording something
All
as
right.
opposed to synthesizers and stuff, but I do love a good synthesizer. It's,
Yeah.
I do a heck of a lot of it personally, but I guess probably you don't get too many electronic artists in recording studios really, because they can actually do it all at
Yeah.
home, because there's
Yeah.
no acoustics to worry about, there's no environment to be
Yeah.
concerned with, there's no microphone technique to understand,
Yeah.
there's no ear training to get used to the differences of mic positions and why there sounds good and why there doesn't. I remember when I first started, I couldn't tell why my SM57 slapped right in the center of my amp was any worse than or any better than it slapped right at the edge of the cone,
Yeah.
or all the way off in the room. Like, to me, they were all like, and they are all legitimate sounds, but
Yeah.
when I first started, it was like I would just record completely the wrong one
Yeah.
because I couldn't tell. And that's learning mic technique,
Yeah.
and that just happens over time. You can't be told that. No one can write that down for you. You just have to do it and do it and do it and do it until one
Yeah.
day you go, oh, I get
That's
it a
the way to
little
do it.
bit. I get a tiny little bit. And then people start paying you to do it. So that's really cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The music composition at the moment, of course, the thing that I'm doing the most of. And I've got a few projects waiting to happen on that front, which is great and surprising,
Yeah.
seeing as creative arts is kind of just paused, just while we sort everything out. But then there are a few projects which have come in, which is absolutely fantastic. So
Yeah.
and then really that's just
Yeah.
playing in the studio and taking money for it. It's brilliant.
Cool, man. So that would explain why you have two websites, right?
Exactly. That's actually, I actually had one website for a long time, but I could never quite get it to work
Yeah.
in terms of not functionally, but I mean in terms of visually. I could never, because I want people to just be able to come and see exactly what they want. I never want that. I never want somebody coming onto the website and having any sort of vague idea that something's second fiddle or that it's not as important as the other one. So
Yeah.
by just having two websites, it removes it. Music composition customers go to here
Yeah.
and they get exactly what they want. They see exactly, and over here they get the recording, and that's done. So that's basically it.
Cool. That sounds so cool, man. So what it's like, well, what is it like to be the guitarist, in Verity White with Verity White? So what is
Terrifying.
yeah.
She's a monster. I need
how,
help.
how does the writing process work? Is it mostly you that comes with a riff, or do you guys work together as a team and write together? How does it all work?
Until the most recent stuff we've been doing in the last 6 months, I would just basically make Verity an instrumental track. So I would do all the riffs, all the drums, it would all be pre-done, and I'd give her that instrumental track. And then the most she would ever do would be to say to me, can you extend the verse by 4 more bars? Because I just want to have a bit more to sing or something like that. And then she'd just do the melody all by herself. And then we would just, whatever that was, however that worked, we'd just record that melody over the top, and so we'd never really cross over into each other's creative zones. The most recent ones, however, we actually did get in the room, and I would just grab a guitar and play a riff, and then Verity would sing some stuff, and we'd actually, work back and forth until we both thought that the opposing part was
Yeah.
kind of fitting in with however we wanted it to work. So that's been really cool. And actually has been just as easy and kind of about the same, really. Actually, the way the results come are just possibly even quicker, because we just get to throw a mic up and capture the whole song in one really quick go. So that's because V's so fast at coming up with words. It's melodies, vocal melodies, you know. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So when you mentioned earlier that you would do an instrumental of the drums, bass, and everything, just send it, give it to her to do the melody. Would you, at this point, while you're making that, composing, would you have a melody in your head and it's totally different to what she comes up with?
Yes. Every single time. Yes. And because it's so important when you're writing an instrumental, if it's going to be for a vocalist, you have to be aware of not trampling over vocalist space, because it's so easy to do. Very quickly you'll be like, I think I'll do a solo every few bars. Nice. Here's a one of those little, you're playing the riff and you're just going it's like, oh, no,
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because that's just going to get in the way of the vocalist. The only guitarist I know that can do that is Slash, who seems to just be able to solo over everything Axl Rose did in Guns N' Roses, and it never seems to get in the way. But so absolutely, you're absolutely right. I will actually write the song with my own melody and my own idea, just to make sure there's space for a tune. And every single time, what Verity does is so completely different to what I would have done. It's amazing. Phrasing, rhythmic feels, the pitch, the intervals that she uses, totally different to it. And I think so much of it's got to do with word choice as well, because I don't know, do you, when you write songs, do you tend to sing like nonsense lyrics while you're working out a melody or something?
Kind of. It's different. The way I don't write lyrics, it's pretty much there's no lyrics from my hand, because it'll be always horrible rubbish, and it'll be the worst things you can imagine. I remember writing something, somebody said, you can't sing this. So so it's kind of she, from all these years, I would say, it's been like 3 years, whatever, we've got an understanding. There are certain words, I think every singer hates singing. There are these certain words, like one to the other, and it just sounds gnarly or weird.
Yes, sure.
And I'd say, like, okay, I'm not gonna sing that freaking word, so you better get it out of there.
Brilliant, amazing.
I'll make she writes like a whole song, and she knows the structure, and she put in a bridge there. If I use it, I use it. If I don't, I don't. And basically she knows how the certain words that I hate singing, especially if it's on a high note. There are certain words that is very compressed. I hate singing it because it sounds very gnarly and very I can't even express it. It'd be too weird.
No, a little closed, you get that closed
I like an open sound.
Feel,
I think the way I sing is pretty much, I'm the worst singer in the world, but it's one of those things. I like to sing loud, as big as possible, and tame it down with my preamp, whatever, before I blow up the freaking mic, whatever. And then you get to a live stage, and it's like, I don't want to sing out that powerfully, I don't want to lose my freaking voice.
I know.
So sing quietly, and hike up the gain on the mic, and then you go crazy. Anyhow,
amazing.
So it's a give and take, man. Sometimes I do the whole thing, send her, and I would kind of do weird kind of not words, but kind of sounds, so she can put words like where it's a ah or a ooh or a whatever, and she kind of blends in those words. And sometimes she would just, there's a folder where we share all our stuff, so it's on a time capsule thing, so everything that we do, it's on the shared folder. And she will put stuff in there. There's 4 set of lyrics there. I was like, what the hell? I didn't even write a song here. So the first the EP, the 2 EPs that are going to be coming out, the first EPs, practically I think it's all done in a way where I have to retrack all the guitars, I have to redo all the drums and everything. Once I get
Okay.
it, so one of the tracks is gonna be "Don't" anyhow, but the 4 tracks is pretty much there. After when I even though I send it to my session drummer, when I do it
Yeah.
individually, I just want to see what it feels like. But after that, I'll send him all those 4 tracks again and get him to
Hmm.
record in that one set of mind,
Yeah.
so it sounds exactly the same, kind of, if you know what I mean. You know,
I
the
do exactly. Yeah.
same mic position, same whatever. So it's
Yeah.
metal. So metal, everything stays the same. You know, it's the
I
easiest
see.
thing.
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
noise and chuggy
I
and
could
clean.
actually probably learn a heck of a lot from you about making metal because I don't do a lot of it. So I actually don't take metal bands. If someone phones me up and says I do metal, I go, if you come to me for metal records, you're going to get something that sounds a bit like I can't, I don't know, the White Stripes or something. You know, you're
Yeah.
going to get it's not going to work. I'm not. So I could learn a ton from you about making metal
You're
records.
you're just being modest, man. Seriously, you're
Oh,
just being too polite. Well, I think metal is one of those things. It's like, you know, it starts off as a guitarist. How do you get those guitars to stay in your face and
yeah.
chugged and no noise?
Do you
Everything
find
is
that's more
clear.
to do with compression than
No,
it's all amp or all tone
all
rather, not amp,
yeah.
sorry, all tone.
For chugging, I don't use any compression at all.
Right.
Because
Wow.
what
Cool.
happens as you're chugging away, you get this kind of after effect from the compressor where it kind of
Is it the release time? Is it that
yeah,
comes back up? So you
and
see that
and yeah, because the
kind of
thing
thing.
is, it's so much gain in there already. So as you're playing, if you're playing really hard, you're already
Mm.
compressing the input.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Absolutely.
it's basically you don't need any more compression. It's all on your playing, and if you're having a really good day of chugging and all those rhythm parts, you know, it's
Yeah.
like you're consistent on your playing and basically you're just going for it, you know. So the recent purchase is gonna be an Evertune bridge guitar, which basically I'm not sure if you heard of this. Yeah,
No, I haven't come
Evertune
across this
bridge
before.
is it's been there out for years, but it's an amazing thing where the tuning just stays stable no matter how
Oh
hard you go for
wow.
it. Yeah, so you it
How does
stay
that work?
it I think
Is it just a well-designed bridge? Is it? Is
yeah,
that all
every
it's
saddle
called?
is on its individual spring kind of thing.
Clever.
So
Right.
you can go crazy on the tuning pegs or whatever, and it on the machine
Yeah.
heads, and it just doesn't go anywhere. It just freaking just
Incredible.
stays. It's good for, you know, recording. So basically, if the temperature changes or whatever in your studio,
It's not going to be a
no,
problem.
it just stays there. Sometimes it stays there like freaking a week, 2 weeks. You don't need to
Good God.
tune damn thing.
It's called an
So
Evertune.
yeah,
Evertune, did you
Evertune
say?
bridge. So you can get it fixed onto your, you know, say Strat or whatever.
Yeah.
There is one guy here in the UK who does it professionally, Shuker Guitars.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
Googling a second. Hang
yeah.
on.
He's a cool
How do you
dude.
spell it? Is it like SCH?
Shuker, Shuker. Yeah,
Shuker Guitars.
yeah. I think he's the like the
Oh yeah,
only
yeah, cool.
authorized kind of dude who does this you know, fitting, and
Ooh,
it's
yeah.
very cool. So you saves you the hassle of tuning, and you have the option. The cool thing about the Evertune, there is at some point you have the option, even if you bend a string, it doesn't bend. The note doesn't bend. So
Oh my
so
God.
it just doesn't bend, and then you kind of with your machine heads, you flick it around left and turn it right again, and it get back to your normal playing style.
Oh my God.
So
So if you are, because one of the things that can happen when you're playing live and really
yeah,
getting into it is you can push too hard on the fretboard,
yeah,
can't you? And
yeah,
obviously you push too hard and it
yeah,
bends the strings and
yeah,
puts the tuning out. And
doesn't
that
happen.
I mean, in the middle of Rock Fury,
Yeah,
that happens, right?
yeah,
But this bridge would
yeah.
just prevent.
It is just so cool, especially on the you know,
Oh,
the low E or low B, whatever you go for.
that is
You will
great.
go, especially when you are really chugging as fast
Mm.
and you're putting all that pressure, and you could easily just go on.
Yeah, God, so easily. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, I'm gonna spoil it, but Sonia is already she has already ordered me one of those guitars for my early birthday present, whatever. So cost her a bomb. I don't know why she got it. I was just kind of
Oh
rambling
my
on. I'm gonna
gosh.
try this guitar. I'm gonna try this bridge, and I think she's freaking just got it anyhow. So it should be
Oh
here.
my God.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's
Yeah.
really
That's an
exciting.
yet again. It's an Ibanez that I always loved. So
When is
I
it
can't.
arriving?
I have no idea, man. She's so hush hush about it.
Oh,
So hush hush about it.
I would just be at the window every single
Yeah,
day
it's
going,
like,
waiting for the
is it
delivery
here?
driver.
Is it here?
Oh mate,
There is
that
a
is so
UPS
much
van pulled
fun.
out in front of
Yeah.
our, yeah, just like whatever. Get in here right now, man.
Oh
Yeah, I
mate,
can't
that is
wait.
going to be
I think it
torture
just
waiting
make
for that to
yeah,
turn
I
up.
think it just makes the creative process much quicker, and it's just easier. You're not
Yes, yes.
fiddling around trying to, oh freaking hell, I've chugged too hard, and now I got to retune the guitar. So you just carry
Oh,
on. So yeah,
crikey.
I
I know.
think
I spend so much time tuning
yeah,
guitars,
yeah,
and it is like you say, it's 3 or 4 takes back to tuning.
yeah,
Even just the acoustic guitar,
yeah,
even if because you're right, temperature
yeah,
changes it. As
yeah,
you're working in a room,
yeah,
you warm up the room,
yeah,
and therefore the temperature
yeah,
changes. And guess what? Your guitars go out of tune.
yeah. I've chatted to
Piano's
so many. Yeah,
ridiculous. I have to pay 70 quid every few months to get that
freaking
tuned.
hell,
And
man.
to actually, if I have to do music composition, and because I get it tuned regularly, but it still slips slightly.
Yeah,
There have been times when I've had to tune to the piano because I've had to have a piano in the composition, and so it's like, okay, cool. It's out of tune. Got to tune to the piano, and then you just hope that nobody ever needs perfect pitch in the composition.
yeah, yeah.
Because otherwise you're in trouble.
It's like D whatever.
Yes, I know. Yeah, yeah.
Is that a D or a D sharp or
Yeah,
no? It's D whatever.
exactly
Figure
that.
it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. So yeah, so basically that's all your setup there with your recording
Yeah.
process. How do you mic your piano, man? Is it is it really
Depends on
complicated or not?
no, not at all. It depends on how the kind of sound I'm going for. So if piano, I find is very much you really do have to audition it in the
Yeah.
way that it's going to be used in the track. So if you I mean, this is pretty much universal for all recording. You've got to try to audition that sound in context. So if it's going to be a piano that is really spacey and kind
Yeah.
of roomy, literally putting a couple of mics in the middle of the room,
Yeah.
or even just my one ribbon mic, if that's the kind of tone I'm going for, because mono piano is cool. Like,
Yeah.
don't discount mono piano, can sound absolutely awesome. Kind of big widening delay, bit of reverb, and you just have this huge, what sounds like a stereo piano, but rock solid in
Yeah.
the center. So that's a really cool sound. So sometimes I'll just use that if I'm after that kind of distant sound. But if I'm after more like a super pop piano,
Yeah.
open the lid, 2 mics, right. You have to play with the
Yeah.
positioning because it depends on how the player is hitting,
Yeah.
where they're playing. They're playing most in the center or at the top end. All this changes, but 2 mics in the top, and just it's never going to be too complicated. It's a little bit of shuffling, a little bit of up and
Yeah.
down, and you get that super high plinky sound which picks up tons and tons and tons of noise from the piano. So you get all the pedal noise and all that. And that's one thing that you have to be really aware of when recording real pianos, is they will make noise. They will. Every time that player puts, you'll get every single time.
Yeah.
And in the context of the track, it disappears.
Yeah.
But when you first start recording piano, you'll just think something's broken because you're so used to software pianos that have none of that. Or if they do, it's so turned down, because it is quite an intrusive sound. So basically that's how you record piano. You just, if it was for somebody who was first timing piano, just lift the top of the lid. If you're feeling brave, take the front off as well, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Couple of little small diaphragm condensers if you've got them, or SM57s, because they'll work too. And just couple like that, and not too. I don't tend to go too far apart either. I don't do super wide, generally speaking, because I find it makes me feel dizzy. Having this massive wide piano. So I kind of like it just a little bit of stereo. So yeah, that's it. That will really, really work. You just got to play with the positioning and don't worry too much about the noise that comes from the piano, because that is just how a piano sounds. It will do it. And and it's cool. It actually sounds cool.
Of course, man. So are you using Luna now, pretty much to do all your projects?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. How are
And
you
there's
finding it?
tons Luna doesn't do yet.
How are you finding it? Is it basically because it's all analog? You pretty much, do you use a lot of MIDI with Luna at all?
I do use a lot of MIDI, but I don't get in. I don't. I've never really got too overly complicated with
Yeah,
MIDI. I always bounce my MIDI tracks down eventually to audio,
yeah,
and really, what I do with MIDI instruments is I very much play them like they're real instruments. So I don't really do a lot of quantizing, although that's all in Luna. You can
yeah,
do that. I don't do a lot of that kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, and generally speaking, so my MIDI usage is actually quite simple anyway, and always has been. I pretty much just want a piano roll,
yeah,
and then I just work like that. So in terms of like doing MIDI in Luna, all that's absolutely fine. I know they don't have multi outs, so you can't
yeah,
say get a software drum kit and then have it assigned to multiple
yeah,
tracks, which is an absolute pain if you need that. It just doesn't have that functionality.
yeah,
But I have a real drum kit here,
yeah,
so and if I'm using electronic drums, I've never really got into multi outs of electronic drums
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
because I just love I love this. If I want heavy electronic drum kit sound, I just love the sound of processing it as one instrument.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah,
so I don't find a bump into that problem. So Luna's amazing. Its big strength is absolutely in that
yeah,
analog style, zero latency, totally in absolute transparent and invisible. You forget you're working in a piece of software that is actually having to
yeah,
deal with latency.
yeah.
It's just invisible.
Cool.
I also use, I suppose, probably my benefits. I have done for a long time. Used 99.9% all universal audio plugins.
Yeah,
So I
cool.
also don't get, because Luna obviously can't remove the latency from a third-party plugin because
Yeah,
it has to run physically on the hardware.
yeah,
But oh my gosh, Luna otherwise is incredible, and they've got the built-in what they call extensions, which is all the tape
yeah,
emulation
yeah,
and the console emulation.
yeah.
Oh, and it looks so pretty. I put it on everything
Yeah,
just because
yeah,
the needles looks great. It also sounds absolutely stunning too. Like I with their tape emulators,
yeah,
I can do so much mixing with those alone
yeah,
because you can use the drive to get a little bit of compression, and you can use they have a little drop down menu
yeah,
which allows you to adjust the bias and things
yeah,
like that on of the tape emulator, and has a little bit of EQ in there too, which is obviously the EQ for the tape machine, but
yeah,
you can use it as EQ. So actually, you can do so much to tones just with that. Even the master tape emulator will act a bit like a mastering compressor because, well, mastering, but bus compressor. But and you can just get a little bit of that aggression, a little bit of that
yeah,
kind of sounds like a record effect,
yeah,
whatever that
yeah,
means. But
yeah.
you know what I mean.
Totally,
So
man.
I
It's
love
so
I
cool
love
to
Luna.
so cool to see another universal audio user. You know what I mean? I've been
It's
using
great, isn't it?
that's
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what hardware do you have from Universal Audio, man?
I actually have the original silver Universal Audio interface, the first one they did. I've put a Thunderbolt card in it because the originals
Yeah,
came with firmware, and that's it. That's the one I've got. It's got it. So I got a couple of external preamps just
yeah,
to fill out the extra that
yeah.
I'm missing. But I'm quite a minimal. I use a lot of minimal miking techniques, so I tend
Okay,
to use one mic on
okay.
just about everything.
Yeah,
The mic changes. I
yeah,
so for me, the number of inputs it has, which is 4, is fine.
yeah.
I get by on that all day long. Because for me, that's 4 instruments. So
Yeah,
I absolutely love it.
yeah.
Yeah, I would really, I really don't know why I'd really ever go back to using any sort of outboard with
Yeah,
Universal Audio stuff.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah, that's the same
so
one
great.
I've got. The old one, the first one that came out,
Yeah,
and I've just got two of the Octo DSP,
lush. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thunderbolt, whatever cards, and I just crazily bought another Apollo Twin. There's a reason for
Oh,
that because I
I
want
want one too.
the reason for that is to have two sets of speakers for my NS10s and my Genelecs. So
Brilliant.
all to go with that same kind of conversion rather than using,
Yeah.
another kind of device. So basically,
Oh
I
no,
get a,
I
you
absolutely
know,
see the reason to have a twin. A
yeah,
twin, I would
yeah,
love to get my hands on a twin at some
yeah. It's
point,
just quick
even
and
just for the
easy.
monitoring
Just yeah,
functionality.
it's just because of that I can just flick
Yeah.
between two sets of monitors. I just
Mm.
got so used to listening to the NS10s for the guitars, and that's
Yeah.
basically it's for just for
Yeah.
guitars. That's
Yeah.
what I use it for, pretty much. So
Yeah,
cool, man.
absolutely. And then you can just at a button
Yeah,
flick back
yeah,
to the Genelex.
yeah, yeah.
The
So
nice
that's
super wide, you know, this is what it sounds like nice,
yeah,
and this is what it
yeah.
sounds like when everyone
Woo!
else listens to it.
And then you have this little crazy old school kind of radio that's got like this tiny little speaker. And then
Yes. Yeah.
everything, imagine listening to all that mix of metal coming through that. And if it's
Oh, I know.
that is like my little safety box. It's like if it sounds good on that, if I can hear the vocals, I can hear the kick,
Yes.
snare, and everything else is the guitar is
It's
hidden a little bit.
done.
I
Yeah.
know it's fine. It's one of those things you get. It's one of those things you really get used to, isn't it? It's like finding that little horrible little speaker, or one of those Bluetooth kind of speakers,
Oh
whatever that
God,
works for you.
absolutely.
Yeah, and then you
I
listen.
think Avantone make that tiny little mix cube, don't they? Which is just like
Yeah,
exactly for that. It's a
yeah,
crap speaker in a
yeah,
box, and it's
yeah,
in mono,
yeah,
and you put it there, and you just
yeah,
go, brilliant. My mix sounds amazing. How
yeah.
is everyone else going to hear it? Oh,
Yeah, so basically, yeah, the thing yet again with the Apollo Twin is like because it's just there, you can hit on the mono switch and the NS10s come to like there rather than
brilliant,
all over the place,
brilliant,
So you
brilliant.
still get that kind of feel,
Do
but
you use mono a lot?
I do a lot, in fact, man. Seriously, as when I start the mixing process, it's pretty much like in out, in out. Just as I
Yeah,
get to a stage where I think, am I getting too carried away? It's pretty much just to get your ears into a get it to a center zone. So you're so mixing so
is that
wide.
mostly
Yeah,
to just get your EQ in the
yeah, your
right place? So
EQ. Yeah,
there's no tricking yourself
yeah,
with left and right,
yeah,
because of course
yeah,
most people, even I mostly listen to music while I'm walking around.
yeah,
I'm hearing the results of two stereo
yeah,
speakers in
yeah,
mono anyway. So
yeah.
you've got to account for that, haven't you? Yeah,
Yeah, basically,
absolutely.
man, that's it. So because you can be mixing for a while, and especially if you're doing a lot of high gain stuff, and your
Yeah,
ears die from the high frequencies. Literally, I don't
yeah.
think I can hear 10K anymore. It's like a freaking.
Who
Can you
cares?
hear a 10K?
10K's
You
not
get some dudes
10K.
getting
No one
some
cares.
young dudes coming out into and say, "Oh, can you hear that? What? I can't hear that. There's a little like tick or like a little sizzle. What? I can't hear that."
Do you know what? On
Uh,
that note, I've got into with engineering. If I can't hear it, just cutting it out, just in case someone else can, and I just can't because my ears don't hear it. It's like,
yeah. Yeah, so
I prefer
lately,
somebody that
yes,
can hear it. Think I've done a really cool filter
yeah.
effect rather than.
So what I'm doing lately is basically Isotope has came with this plugin called Tonal Balance. So basically, it's got this
Yeah.
your low end, your low mids, and high mids, and your highs. So it
Mm,
kind of
mm.
gives you a visual of where everything should be, like for rock or metal or whatever. And I
Yes.
kind of based on that, and then I send it to the
Mm.
mastering guys, and they said, "Okay, it's fine for me to do the mastering." It's like, okay, we can
Oh my
crack on
god,
now.
that's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
I have seen that tonal balance stuff by
yeah,
Isotope, actually.
yeah. I got it
It
for a
looks really
steal. Yeah, I
interesting.
got it for an absolute steal. The whole package of ozone and neutron and nectar, all the new package. So basically, they had like a deal going on, and I missed it by a day. And I've always been an isotope user, so cracked them, sent them an email saying, "I'm gutted. I'm so gutted." That is me sending the first on. I missed out. I was gonna purchase this thing on
Yeah.
midnight, whatever, and they kindly, send me another coupon for like
Oh
half
my
of
god,
half of
legends.
the actual discounted price. So where the disc, it was actually, I think it was like 399, and
Yeah.
then I think they brought it down for the offer like 149 or something, and I
Yeah,
think I
sure.
got it for like £79 or whatever, the whole package, and I was like, freaking hell, man, that is awesome.
Oh my god, that
Yeah,
is awesome.
That is freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, I have to say my other, we're so similar in this actually, because my other plugins
Yeah,
are isotope.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it must be something about the way that one likes to engineer,
yeah, yeah,
and just being attracted to certain companies
yeah,
for the way that they
yeah,
present their stuff. Because yeah, I totally agree.
yeah,
For me, it's like they're perfect match, aren't they? Because you've
yeah,
got Universal Audio that do all the tone,
yeah,
and then you've got isotope that do all the accuracy.
yeah,
And that with those two
yeah,
things, you've just
yeah,
covered
yeah,
pretty much everything, you know, with the exception of a drum trigger, I think, which I
yeah,
still use Slate
yeah,
trigger for. But
yeah. I
yeah,
use pretty much all the Slate stuff. So
yeah,
basically,
yeah.
when I run out of DSP from U80, then I just jump onto Universal, sorry, Slate, and everything
Yeah,
else is covered from there, man. So basic,
because
yeah,
they're brilliant
all
company as
access
well.
pass, Slate all
Yeah,
access pass.
absolutely. It is
That
a
is
good
so
idea. They're
freaking
all
cheap,
access
man.
paths.
For what,
I know.
fourteen
It's
ninety nine?
mad, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
It's just
crazy.
mad.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. This has been great, man. What can I say? Do you want to share any, any technical or like a tip for guitarists or anything from tracking to for other engineers? So this is gonna be like 3 or 4 different answers from you because you freaking do everything, man.
um, do you know? I think just to try to cover a few different bases. I think um, the biggest tip, definitely, the thing that I learned the most is really make sure that I know this is a boring one, but it's so true. Make sure you've got something worth recording before you ever pick up a microphone. You know, you have to make sure that you've actually written a really cool riff or something. And that what that really means is don't just grab a guitar and play any old crap that and think that you'll be able to somehow make that cool. You might be able to, but most of the time you can't.
Yeah,
So my top tip for like anybody that's beginning or hasn't got into recording yet is just make sure that you've actually sat down for a couple of hours and write something cool. Like pretend you're about to go and play it to someone, because it's so easy with recording to sometimes just think that you can play something a bit naff because you desperately want to get on with the fun of miking stuff up and that kind of thing. So my top tip is spend a bit of time just making sure you've got something worthwhile recording. And with that, once you do, I really think don't go nuts on microphones, because it's so easy, like all gear, to think that the fault is in the microphone or the fault is in the number of microphones that you're using. The difference microphone placement makes is insane, absolutely insane. On an acoustic guitar, if this is the sound hole of the acoustic guitar, you will get a sound that sounds like a different instrument if you put it here by the strings looking at the sound hole, or here at directly at the strings. Because you see, one of the tips you see online that drives me mad is, for a good guitar sound, get your microphone and put it somewhere between the sound hole and the neck, just about where the neck meets the
12th fret.
body. Just about, yeah, 12th fret business, just about 2 foot away. And what everyone does, they go and they do that and they get a terrible acoustic
Yeah,
guitar tone.
sounds like this,
Because,
man.
oh, good God. So it just, you know what, sometimes it works. That's
Yeah,
the thing, because there is never a right answer.
yeah,
There is only different tones. But the problem is the internet is so full of giving you the idea that it's like presets.
yeah,
Like you just got wanted a guitar tone. Don't ever do that. Record a little bit, listen to it, move the mic until you hear the sound that you want to hear coming back out of your speakers. And with one microphone, unless of course you want a stereo sound, you can find that position that gives you all of that balance and all of that feel that you're hearing out of the speakers, the sound that you're hearing where you're playing that acoustic guitar or that drum kit in the room. So yeah, like microphone positioning is, my God, there's a really cool thing called, I forget exactly the website, but if you just Googled something like one mic recording,
yeah,
there is a cool guy out there that's done modern recording with a whole host of bands with one ribbon microphone. It's a stereo ribbon microphone he puts in the middle of the room and he puts the players around. Honestly, his results sound better than so many full mixed records,
yeah,
multi-mic records that I've heard, because he spends the time getting the mic position right. And it
yeah,
takes hours sometimes, But my God, if you want an easy time mixing,
Yeah.
mic position, mic position, mic position, you will come up with something that just sounds so lush. And of course, mic position is like EQ. So rather than thinking of using EQ and going, oh, I need my guitar brighter, don't. Move the mic into a brighter position, move it further away. It'll be really bright and roomy. And because it's roomy, in solo, that might sound scary, but when you turn that fader up in the context of bass and vocals and maybe keyboards, you don't hear the room on the guitar anymore. What you hear is 3D. So yeah, that would probably be my super soapbox.
That's some great tips, man. What can I say? It's absolutely amazing, totally in depth. You know, the guy using that one microphone technique, you can get away with so many phase issues, can you not? Really?
Exactly that.
Yeah, cool, man. So what are you up to right now? You know, you want to give a shout out to before we end this, you know, this really long chat.
It's been so much fun. I know. God, I've got an hour and a half up here on the recording. It's amazing. So much fun. I think that's it. I know I've got nothing to say other than have everybody go away and make awesome music. It was so much fun.
Simply said, man, and I will catch you sometime soon when all this craziness comes to an end, man. I know really
we'll get to hang out in the reels one day.
I really do appreciate you taking the time and having this chat with me,
and I will having me on. It's
see
so
you
much
soon,
fun.
man. Cool, man.
Thank you so much.
Take care, man.
Catch you later. Bye.